Alright, now that all the fun E3 hype is over, we can get back to hating and bitching about video games like real epic gamers. So if you're a fan of the Pokemon series, you've surely heard the news by now about this new Pokemon home service. For those unaware, here's a quick rundown. Currently, there's a service called Pokemon Bank that allows players to transfer their Pokemon from previous games into this bank that acts as like a central storage space. Even though there's all these different Pokemon you're catching across several different games, you can store them all in this one location. Not only that, but you can then transfer Pokemon that you've caught in older games into the newer ones. A lot of the, I guess, secondary aspects of this game, like for shiny hunters. Again, for those unfamiliar, shiny Pokemon are extremely rare variants that take on a slightly different look from the standard form of a Pokemon. And what a lot of people do is hunt for shiny versions of their favorite ones in a particular game, and then keep them to use through future entries. Because it can take like dozens of hours of just grinding, combing endlessly through the same area over and over again to just find and catch one shiny Pokemon. But part of what makes it worth it to these people is knowing that you'll have that Pokemon not only throughout this game, but you can play with them in future entries as well. And during the Nintendo Treehouse demo of Pokemon Sword and Shield at E3, Masuda, the game's producer, detailed that these latest entries will be handling things a little bit differently. You see, there is this Pokemon home service that I mentioned before that is replacing Pokemon Bank. And you're going to be able to bring Pokemon from Pokemon Go, Let's Go Pikachu, and Let's Go Eevee, and of course Pokemon Bank, which many of the fans were most concerned with because that's where a lot of their Pokemon resided. It's also going to let you do a lot of nice new stuff like make trades with just your smartphones. It seemed like a nice upgrade, but again, during this Treehouse presentation at E3, Masuda explained this big change. For Pokemon Sword and Shield, players will only be able to bring over Pokemon that are already in that region. So any Pokemon from past games that aren't already featured in Sword and Shield will not be able to be transferred over. This sparked a huge amount of backlash from fans who have created this hashtag #BringBackNationalDex, as in the National Pokedex that holds information on Pokemon from all regions, not just the one you're in. And pretty much all of the Pokemon social media posts since this announcement have been flooded with comments containing this hashtag. From the player's perspective, I totally get the issue. You've been told for a long time that you'd be able to keep these Pokemon with you through future installments, which has led to, like I said, a lot of people going in for a complete National Dex or the Shining Hunting, like I mentioned before. And these have become a core part of the Pokemon experience for many players. And now you're basically being told, oh yeah, we're not going to do that anymore. If you say have a bunch of shinies of your favorite Pokemon, hopefully they end up being a part of Sword and Shield, and if not, you may never be able to use them in a future game. And even if they say promise that, okay, now starting with Pokemon Shield, everything is going to carry over, well, how could players trust them after they just got screwed over for believing that was the case previously? But now, I get the developer side here as well. Kind of. You see, I totally expected this to happen before Pokemon and Shield were officially announced. But the reason I expected this to happen was that I figured with the added power of the Switch versus, the 3DS, that this series was going to see a full-on overhaul visually, with much more detailed models of the Pokemon. Also, there's the balancing, but I don't see that as such of a big deal. I think sort of like with collectible card games, if you want the pure experience of a Pokemon game, you just play it with that current version, not with your past Pokemon. And if you do decide to bring in past Pokemon from other regions, you gotta expect things to break maybe a little bit here and there. But yeah, if they were making drastic visual improvements to the game, they probably weren't going to want to go through all the trouble to remodel 800 plus whatever it is different Pokemon that currently exist, even though they could. But then, when Sword and Shield was finally shown, I was surprised that it didn't seem like a major generational leap. Like I've stated in the past, the game, the models, they look a lot to me like the 3DS games just running on an HD emulator. And so when we saw the game in action, I figured the reason we didn't see a major graphical shift was because they wanted to still allow players to bring all their Pokemon over. And now I hear, no, they're not doing that. And in that interview, Masuda still used that as an excuse. The whole, oh, the power of the Switch offers new possibilities as a reason for why. As if they did some kind of major overhaul to the game visually. Basically, it's starting to sound to me like they're lazy. I'm going to be honest with you. I mean, you look at Pokemon Sword and Shield, titles that will easily sell more than 10 million copies on Switch, and then take something like Dragon Quest XI as another anime-looking RPG. This is what's possible on the Switch, and this is what Game Freak is giving to players and saying, oh yeah, we changed things so much from the 3DS games, it's not possible to bring all the Pokemon over. And again, even if they did these major changes, like I said, it's not like it would be impossible to remodel all the Pokemon. Still, I mean, you're surely going to have several generations of Pokemon on Switch. You've built the fan base up by offering these different methods of play. You should be looking at this like a long-term investment, which you'll surely get your money back several times over with how these games sell. Instead, it appears to me that they just figure they can get away with this. Now, Pokemon has historically been something that sells like hotcakes pretty much no matter what. So let's keep cutting content and features to save time and money and thus make more money. And as long as the games continue to sell, why would they do anything differently? But I do think they should definitely put it back in. Unless you're doing a major graphical overhaul, like I said, which clearly they aren't with Sword and Shield, it makes no sense to me why this would be some monumental task. And I feel the Pokemon franchise is starting to lose a lot of that goodwill and trust of the player base. Again, you look at these posts on social media, it's not like there's just a lot of these comments of bring back the National Dex. It's the overwhelming majority of people who learned about this that feel burnt by its announcement. They feel like they've been lied to and essentially told a lot of the time they've spent with these games has been a waste of time. As I mentioned, I fully realize the force of Pokemon as a franchise, how consistently successful it has been, but you know what? It's not the first franchise to become a household name, and we've seen other titans of the industry fall just the same. If you burn your fans enough times, no matter how diehard they are, eventually they're going to stop touching that stove. Anyway, with that, this video's a wrap. Let me know your thoughts on this whole bring back the National Dex deal in the comments. Do you feel that these Pokemon games are just going to sell so well no matter what they do that they shouldn't bother with it? Or should they be rethinking this and bring back a feature that clearly means a lot to a large portion of the fan base? Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed this discussion of the bring back National Dex deal with Pokemon Sword and Shield. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. And if you want to keep the conversation going, hit me up on Twitter at Johnny Zakari and join my Discord, ChiGuy and Friends. Link to both in the description below. And as always, thanks for watching.